Okay, so let's touch on what we've been talking about the last day or so about the forearms and everything. So we'll go back to the video that Tapio showed where he said it doesn't matter if the face is square or open, which it certainly does, because what I've done there is there's no wrist angle, there's no wrist cock whatsoever. So for me to release that club onto the ball, I'm either going to uncock and stand it up, shaft up, or I'm going to have to try and use pivot to try and create a false low point of strike. When I have a lot more wrist cup and that face, actually we'll go back to that. So when you look at that right there, if I turn around, I'll do it from this view. If I drop that club to the ground and looked at it, it's actually shut. It's shut to my path and where my body is aiming at that direction. So I have a lot more wrist angle there as opposed to that. You can see what the difference does. A lot more forearm rotation, a lot more wrist cock. Face looks more open, but when I drop it, address it, it's actually square. Okay, so it does make a difference, because if I don't have the range in all this, forearm and wrist to use, of course it's going to shut over. That's where we get used to building range in and being able to rotate it this way and return that shaft right to there with a straight left arm and shaft. If I'm closed and I don't have any wrist cock there, and I rotate, it's going to be shut, obviously. So there is a lot of range in the forearm. Best players had big forearms, used them. Not because they lifted weights for 10 hours a day. They used them correctly in their golf swing. So if I'm in this position, of course I'm going to have to, that club face is close to my target, so I'm going to have to use my pivot to try and square that face up. If I just rotated my forearms from there, face is going to be hooded and pointing over in that direction. So when it's hooded and pointing in that direction, I get false lean. I've got to try and do that to get the face square, because I know from this angle I can't rotate my forearm, so it becomes pivot. But the face, I get all this wickedly shaft lean, which is not what we want. The more wrist angle we've got, there's our down and out. Down and out swing without even trying to do it. My low point's more correct. And what I'm also doing is, from here, Trevino and Azinger looked a little bit like this, and they knew they couldn't aim straight or do anything from there because the ball is going to go left. So they both aimed over here. Still rotated their forearms. Their body looked like it turned a lot more because they're aimed left. They've shifted their baseline out in that direction by aiming over here. So that was their way of getting the club square. So what we've got to do is, this becomes the door hinge and this becomes the closing door. Can't close it. If I just turn, look at the face. The face is wide open and I've got all this hand out in front. The more rotation I do of my forearm, the more this all lines up each and every time. I get a supinated wrist, plus I haven't used any body. So my body then takes over. I'll never change my left wrist or my right wrist. Bent flat, bent flat, bent flat, bent flat, bent flat. If I pivot, I've just totally changed my alignments over here because I've spent my pivot. I have to then start murdering the club with this. So I go flat, bent. And that, what we see here is really happening back here. You can see I've already started to flatten this right wrist out. People look like that. They pivot, rotate, difference in the shaft all the way up to the top. When I haven't used my pivot into impact, I've just basically rotated my forearms this way. My pivot still has tremendous range of motion over here. When I've just pivoted to here, my body's done. It's out of the way. I can't do anything. So I become a lot more handsy, throwy, and folded at the end. None of this. It's all that. So my body does move. Torso moves when I'm doing it my way because I have range in it. It's closed. I have a lot of forearm rotation. I have a lot of wrist cut. That's the sensation. Because I have connection here as my forearm rotates, my shoulders move because I've got connection. So they're going to move. If I was out here and I had no connection, I just rotated my forearm, sure. So it's a lot more wrist cock and a lot more wrist cut that unwinds that. That's the down and through without having to go down and through. Because I haven't used any body here, it's moving, but it's not the instigator. Because I haven't moved it here, then my shoulders and everything can work really around level and get that club up. The only way that club can go up is by turning hard with the body after here. Then my rotation is spent, so then I go up. If I'm pivoting here, my rotation is already spent, and it looks a lot more like that. Forearms, pivot, up, look at the face. Pivot, hands and arms. Club works around that way and shuts. Right wrist flattens out, left wrist gets bent. As opposed to more of that look. The more we're feeling this club here, which like I said is neutral, really neutral. It's not open and it's certainly not closed. Shaft is perpendicular to my spine. As I rotate my forearm, nothing overdoes. There's certainly none of this. I don't know what that was, but it's all forearm work. It's the feel of working that. It's the reason why all good golfers have big forearms, because they use them. Certainly didn't get to here and then pull with their pivot. You can see where the face is going to point. So we're really trying to, this is a lot of wrist cock, club behind, club up. Face looks open, it's actually square. That right there is the down and out in the golf swing. And because I'm rotating my forearms here, then I've got my whole body to keep working. If I get to here and just pull my pivot, shaft length, face open, body out of the way, flip roll. Because I've already got this out of the way, I can't use it. So it's 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. It's not there, that. The pivot works later. The pivot does move from this action because I've got connection here and I've got range of closure. So if I rotate my forearm and got connection, my upper body moves a little bit. My feet are going to move a little bit because they're balancing me as the club moves. But I'm certainly not trying to be here and square it up with pivot. I get shaft lean, I get face open, I get body out of the way too much. I can't use the club from there on. It becomes a steer and a hold and a fold, which is what I said. Of course, with the right arm, it's even more important. The more I've pinned up here, all I have left is forearms. See how quick I can quicken that club up. And because I haven't used my pivot yet, I can keep it going. If I get to here and use my pivot, that's a hold. I got no pivot left, so then my arms are going to run away from it. And of course, all that happens out here is really happening back here in the golf swing. So that's why you see. So the later we can push our intentions of using that, the better it's going to happen in the zone. So that's what's happening. There is pivot, but it's not the instigator. The instigator is the forearms rotating. That's all forearms. I'm not trying to do anything. And from there, now I'm in position because I haven't used any of this to really get up to the finish. And because I'm going from this way, pivot's overtaking the one of the hands, I'll never throw the club over. Won't happen. Club will only go cross over here if one, I've already spent my pivot too much because I can't turn anywhere with it, or two, I just stop my body totally and use my hands and arms. And that would be from, this is where the poor golfers lose their rotation, up here. They don't lose it here because none of them hold that angle down. They never overdo that through here. They lose their rotation up here. That's why they go steep and have to hold on and not do anything.